How's it going, everyone? Rex here with Jordan, and we have finally both beaten SteamWorld Heist 2. So we are going to be doing a full review discussion of the game. So just kind of telling you what we liked about it. We're going to start off spoiler-free a little bit, just giving our general impressions. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and go full in, and we'll be sure to let you know when we're going into spoilers, so that way if you don't want to know, you can tune off and then come back later once you beat the game. So first off, Jordan, how did you like the game?
It was great, especially for playing a turn-based game like this, which is not really a type of game I play a lot of. As soon as I got into it, and I mainly got it because you kind of just recommended it, so that was like the main reason. But as I started playing it, I really started trying to compete against myself to see how fast I can beat a mission without dying. And if I would lose a character, I'd just get so ticked and just like try to restart or whatever. But just that competitiveness of trying to beat each mission. And again, because I don't play a lot, I was playing it on like the pretty much easiest difficulty. It goes like story, then medium, moderate, whatever, however it goes down. But I was a second tier, so I was already on a super easy difficulty. So if I lost a character on any mission, it just ticked me off because I was like, you can't really get much easier than this. So just
Yeah,
that
it was similar.
competition of getting through each mission was great.
Yeah, it was similar for me. Like very early on in the game, like if I lost a person, like I was okay with it. But later on in the game, I wouldn't really lose a character until like later on in the mission. And so I had times when I would restart a section because you can do the checkpoint and go back 2 turns. Man, I would restart those 2 turns like 10
See,
times.
I had a slight pressure on me because I was recording the walkthrough as well. So
Oh, okay.
in my tone of voice, I had to disguise some of my real frustration, and because I'd be so ticked at like not beating a level the way I wanted, and so I would just have to, for the video, just keep going and keep the story moving, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. See, yeah, when I was the bits that I did stream, I didn't play like that. But when I was offline, I feel like definitely when you're streaming it, you feel like you do have to put up certain errors. But yeah, when I was offline, I was just like, no, I got to make this perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the game is awesome. The game is really good. Especially, I mean, if you like SteamWorld games in general, it's a great addition just to the series in general. Story wise, it feeds off of a lot of the things that happen in past SteamWorld games, especially, and then going directly off of SteamWorld Heist 1. But at the same time, if you haven't played the previous SteamWorld Heist, if number 2 is your first game, and I mean, for you, that was your experience. You'd never played it. The thing is your first SteamWorld game, period, right?
Yeah, and a completely first SteamWorld game. And the story is, I mean, this isn't a huge game as far as, it's not like a crazy in-depth multi-series game with intense like character development and all that stuff. So when you jump in, you're not lost or like trying to figure out what's going on. You're kind of starting off as a new character and pretty much separate from the previous SteamWorld games. So you're kind of just taking this story as this character you're playing and just kind of going through what his quest is. And it's not, you don't feel lost. You don't start the game feeling off like starting off watching Lord of the Rings 2, like, okay, wait, where are we? How do we get here? What's going on? So it's a pretty inviting story just to jump right into. And I don't think it's that demanding to play any previous games before. It's a good starter, I think.
Exactly. The story is completely self-contained. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where if you see a character or you hear mention of something else that's happened, it's like, oh, cool, I know who that is, or I know what that is. But if you didn't know, you're like, oh, interesting. These things are talking about the world, but it's not like you're missing out. So yeah, I think they did very well with that. And then of course the gameplay is just really well done. It's like a 2D tactics game, so kind of like XCOM-esque, except of course you get to aim your shots. You're not really going off a chance or anything like that for the most part.
Yeah, no, it was one, you have crew members you can hire, which can change the dynamics of how you fight. And then also, after each successful mission, they kind of get exhausted or phased out, so you can't really use them, so you got to use the remainder of your crew. So, and then even with that, the loadout with certain type of guns they use, and it's certain guns have different types of range, different types of bullet drop. So every element made each battle more and more different. So, and even with just the randomization of enemy spawns for each time you mission. So you can play a mission, which I did several times, and then you hit restart or you leave and come back. And you're like, I'm going to do it again. And then you have different mobs spawn in different areas, which kind of change your whole mentality of, or your whole process plan of what you're going to do once you restart. And now you kind of got to recreate and readjust. So really, that helped it from becoming super repetitive the whole time, of just point, shoot, move over here, take cover here. Like, there was a lot of other options. And even the whole job part, being able to make any character, and I picked that up later in the game, but being able to pick any character to pretty much be any class, which really made it great. Like, I had one mission where I made everybody the bombers, so everybody was a bomber. So everybody had big explosives. So it was
okay.
It was good.
Real quick, I think let's just go ahead and say we're going into spoilers now, because there's definitely some stuff I want to touch on, but of course, I want to keep it baseline as possible for the intro of the video. If you don't want to hear spoilers, go ahead and pause the video and then come back once you play the game. But if you already know or don't care, then feel free to listen on. I'm going to talk about the enemy variety, which I really enjoyed how the different factions played very different from each other. So obviously, like when you start off with the Navy, they are a very, certain. They're basically very standard kind of enemies. You shoot the enemies, they die. If you have the
I think some
types,
of their differences, they had the drones, and they also had those big shield barrier guys. And just from the top of my head, I feel like those are the two that I remember when I think about the Navy bots. Like, they were more. They were more straightforward, as in they had the drones, they had like the military with the shield that would do the charge, they had the general that would give the shields. And the interesting thing was, in a lot of games like this, once you play you play against this one faction, then when you go to the next faction, they're going to be like the same type, but they'll have a little tweak. But in this game, when you get to the Rattlers, which is the second faction that we're facing, the way they operate is completely different. Whereas when I shoot one of the Navy bots, the bullet stops and hits them. However, when I fight against the Rattlers, since they're made out of bones, the bullet will crush through each one I hit, and so it can continuously pass through. Yeah.
So I can take out 4 or 5 units in one shot, where versus if I was playing against the Navy, I would only be hitting one person with just a regular round.
Yeah, I think the skeletons, they had less health, but a higher quantity. There was more of them. They also had the totems that they can respawn. they had several different types of totems. They had the totem that I think respawns. They had that electrical one that does damage. They had those red skull ones that if you damage it or if you destroy it, you get damaged. There was a couple
Exactly.
types of
And the thing
totems
with
they
the
had.
and the thing with the totems too is that whereas like and all the factions had this with the alarms and the reinforcements, they'd come out of like the door areas. But with the totems, they could literally pop up anywhere on the map. So
Yeah,
they
yeah,
could pop up right next to your character. So
yeah,
very unpredictable. But it added that nice effect of the battles where you did have to single out that. And that's like I think the made the battles very interesting as they kept adding different elements that like, oh, you need to switch this thing on, or you need to destroy this totem. Like especially the electrical ones would deal 2 damage to your entire crew every
yeah.
single
Those were
turn.
rough.
So you couldn't just be like, no, we're gonna focus on this enemy. No, you had to get someone over there and you had to destroy that thing as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Um, and then going back to, but that was only with the rattlers. So if we're going to the Navy, or even later, like at the very end of the game,
Well,
the
real quick, even before you
atomics.
say that, the cool thing was whenever you would fight with the um, skeletons in the Navy, that are the rattlers in the Navy, they would fight as well. So it was
Oh, if you
like
have
a
all
three-way
it,
battle. It was your crew, their crew, and the Navy crew. So sometimes they would just be duking it out while you're setting yourself up for like the end game.
yeah, and those were honestly some of my favorite battles.
Yeah. No, so
Like
sometimes
they're
I would purposely not destroy all the rattlers or navy just to keep them poking at each other while I can focus on like the big guys.
yeah. So we had this one mission where we had to free the navies. The navy were being because the rattlers are trying to capture steam bots and diesel bots and basically take their limbs away and replace them with bones, like forcibly, um, to join the way of bone. But so what we had to do is we went in there and we had to basically save these naval officers, which were still enemies. So but we just had because what we were doing is we would save the naval officers and then they would fight through for us.
Mm.
So what I would do is I would free them and then I would just go hide, and I would just wait for them to duke it out and kill as many rattlers as they could, and then I would finish them off. So
Wow.
that was always a lot of fun. But yeah, it's kind of cool, that dynamic. They're like, it's a free for all at that point. And it gets very chaotic, but I like it.
And then
Um,
the other race that you were getting ready to get into, then I kind of cut you off. But the atomics.
yeah, no, I mean they were very interesting as well.
They had those it was like a little cocoon that they would spawn in like a low like it didn't have a lot of health, but it was a little cocoon that next turn it like evolves, I guess, or whatever, into something. And so whenever you'd see that pop up, like one or two of them would pop up, like you'd have to kind of target it because once it spawns, it's going to be a lot stronger creature. So that was
Yeah,
interesting part as well.
and the cool thing with that too is because these some of these are like shapeshifters. And so the idea was like when it shifts into an enemy of either rattlers or navy,
Yeah, yeah,
but it's like a version, it's like an atomic version of them.
yeah,
So it was really cool way where they could recycle some enemies, um, but they were like basically possessed or whatever because they were just shapeshifters.
yeah,
Um, so that was cool. Also, they added the corrosive damage, which was honestly crazy annoying, but it was neat to use, especially when you got to use it to your advantage. Although the one thing that super bummed me out, which is fine because it's later in the game, so it's supposed to be harder, but their regular like atomic um, ranged units, they like hover slightly. Like they're if you
yes,
notice,
yes.
there's
Their feet are off the ground.
The feet are off the ground, so they don't get damaged by the corrosion, like the atomic sludge that they're spewing
Yeah.
out. So they would just be like, there's tons of it caking the whole area, and my guys have to be super careful.
Yeah, where you
Um,
can stand, yeah.
However, though, I don't know if it was level 4 or level 5. I think it was level 5 for the was it the breaker class, which was the shotgun class.
You don't get damaged by ground
Yes,
effects.
yeah. I think of the name of the class. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, no. Anyways, the shotgun class. Once they like get their high level ability, they can walk on surfaces that would usually damage them, and they don't feel nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No, they were
that
great.
that helped me out a lot. And honestly, that's gonna like now that because I'm going back and like trying to 5-star everything because once you get all the stars in a region and then you go back to the local bar, you can unlock the secret room. And 2 of them that I've done so far, they have a cog in there that
Oh,
increases the
okay.
amount of cogs for your entire crew. And then there's also an achievement for collecting all the cogs in the game. And so the only way to do that, though, is to beat all the levels with all the stars. So that is kind of something I'm working on, but especially once you get to the Arctic, you have that freezing issue a lot. So I have
Yeah.
2 max level shotgun classers, so I'm definitely going to be utilizing them a
Yeah,
lot.
I only have one. I only have one of the shotgun. I have two snipers, but the shotgun class I'd use sometimes, but he wasn't like my main. I didn't even really take advantage of that ability like I probably should have. There's just several missions late game that really would have helped me out. But yeah, now
Yeah,
looking back, I probably didn't use that the best way. But
especially when you get later in the game too. So you do have the wheel and deal ability, which lets you attack.
okay, dude,
Do
I
an X.
never used that ability once, and I don't even know how it even works. I read it so many times. It was like end your turn if you still have movement and you can take an extra action or something like that.
Okay, so what it is so you have the yellow, which is like your walk area, and then you have the blue, which is your sprint area. So what Wheel and Deal does is you can use that action, and then once you basically end your turn by like moving all the way to the blue to the sprint area, then it'll give you one more action that you can use as an attack or to use an item. The
Mm.
nice thing that that does too is that I didn't realize this at first. It also gives you a damage boost to your attack, and
Oh,
later on in the game, um, how you can so in the submarine you can upgrade certain skills for certain classes. You can buy them with fragments, and what you can do is you can upgrade that so it'll do a total of 4 extra damage. So all you
oh
have to
wow.
do is activate Will and Deal, run up on the enemy, and then shoot, and then whatever your damage is plus your 4 damage. And the nice thing too is you can totally combo it with other classes. So like, what I like to do, and I'm trying to get a character like this, is they'll have Will and Deal, right? But then they'll also have the I forgot the name of it, but it's the one where you click it and they go, and then they are able to do 1 extra damage.
Okay, yeah.
That one, and then you also, if you train them in sniper, they can get the power shot as well. So you can, and those are both free actions. So you can have him boost up with the Will and Deal. Then you can give him, and with the buff, it gives you an extra 2 damage with power shot, 2 damage with the buff. So you're doing a total of 8 damage
Wow.
on top of your weapon damage.
And then
So
just and then you even have two other characters that can give another character two shots. So their one shot turns into two. And then the support character, the engineer character, which can give a character an additional turn. So that's 8 times 4. What is that? 32 damage in one turn.
yeah, and if you have, I mean, if you have the top level sniper ability, I think it is, right? If you defeat if you defeat a marked enemy, so the one that has the crosshair on it, then you get an additional attack.
Wow.
So, and that can be used by any class. So you could totally do that, attack twice, then attack again, attack twice. I mean, there's a lot of ways that
Yeah.
you can swing it, but
Yeah.
my goodness, and that's what I love about this game is honestly. So
The
in the
complexity.
original SteamWorld Heist, it was you picked up a certain character and you added them to your crew, and they were a class, and then you upgraded them, and like they were that class though. And so
See, I never played number one. Was it more just? Do they have different guns? Like
yeah,
how
so they
much of the
have
loadout could you change?
yeah, like you could change. It's been a while, so I can't fish for sure, but you could change out the guns a lot, but their class was always set. So like if you're playing Piper, I believe she was a sniper. Um, I can't remember, but anyways, whatever her class was, she can't change her class. And if you get a new guy, like a melee class, well, he's the melee class. He
Did you
can't
ever
switch
play
to
as
other
Fen?
class. Ben, I think so.
Was
It's
he?
been a while.
Yeah, yeah. No, I bet it
Been
came
a
out.
while.
What? It came out like 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and it's been at least like 2 or 3 years since I last beat it. I beat it a couple times, but it's been a while.
Yeah,
Um,
no,
so
because
yeah.
obviously, spoiler alert, he's in the Fenn's in the game. I didn't know if he was just a regular character. I had to look that up. If he was like had a significant role in number one, or if he was just a character they decided to bring on.
Yeah, no, he seems familiar enough where I think he might be from the original in some form, but I would have to look that up
He is in
myself.
number one. I have seen him in number one when I was looking him up. But according
Okay,
to
okay.
Google Images, I've seen different variations of him, which make me think he's in other SteamWorld games as well. But I'm not too
Yeah.
sure. I haven't played any of those ones.
Okay, okay. Well, that is definitely worth a quick Google once we're done here. But yeah, yeah. So one thing I know we were talking about on our initial preview was the submarine and how we definitely felt the submarine was a little lacking. And
Yep.
boy, dude, especially now that I've beaten the game, and especially the last mission in the game, like has like a submarine like boss battle, um, which I definitely wish there was more of. I mean, there were like, different ship battles and stuff like that, and those were pretty fun.
Yeah.
But just like actually being able to fight the Kraken at the end and
Yeah.
having that
Yeah.
be like an actual like having to zip around and destroy the different
No, and
things.
that's what I was thinking of first was I thought it was just swimming, and then I was like, okay, we get a machine gun, but all the battles were pretty much easy. And I think that's pretty much all we got after the first review talk, our first impressions video.
Yeah,
But
first
then
hour, 2 hours of
yeah,
the game.
then you experience other ships. Then you experience submarines underwater. So now you're diving. In one battle, you can be diving, taking out the submarines, and then servicing back up and taking out the ships on top. And then you also have torpedoes, and then underwater like lasers. And yeah, it was a lot more than I was expecting. So it was a great improvement. I think I judged a little too early, but yeah, no, towards the end of the game,
Oh,
the ship
same.
battles were a lot better.
And I too was saying, the ship was a little bit slow. Well, of course, now that we're deeper into the game and we understand the upgrade system, dude, my ship is zooming. Like I
Yeah.
have some speed, but I have like I think two speed boosters on there, and it is
And that's the
hauling.
cool thing. It's not like there's like one slot for a gun, one slot for a booster. You can stack items. Even characters. You can put one character has like 3 armor plates on. You can put like on your sub, you can put a whole bunch of just speed boosters on there. Like gives you the opportunity to just set it up how you want for the most part.
Oh yeah, no, like Crowbar, I was giving her a new class, and so I have two of the 40% boosters, and so I gave her both XP boosters, and then put her into the
Oh
mission, and
yeah, that
then
is good.
yeah. So I
I
okay,
didn't even think about
who?
that.
Yeah, yeah. One of them was a little tricky to find. You know those spiky green balls
Yeah.
that are floating out there? You have to float like into the middle of like a big old group of them in the East Caribbean, and it is like in the middle of there, just floating in the water, and that's the
Dude,
second
I would
one.
get so frustrated. There's a couple times because your submarine, when it takes damage, like it kind of bounces. So
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
stuck in a tight spot, you can be like pinballing back and forth between two. It was frustrating at times.
Oh yeah, no, and a lot of times there's like current. Thankfully, there's no current in this area, so I'm playing on the keyboard and I'm just like tapping very slowly and
Yeah.
tapping very slowly to like navigate. Because yeah, once you hit that bounce,
I tended to
you're
use more
dead.
of my mouse, like just the whole click and drag or whatever.
Oh, interesting. Okay, okay. Yeah, I messed around with that a little bit in the beginning, and then I kind of just forgot about it. But
I just like that they give you the
yeah.
option to do that too.
Oh yeah, no, it's dude, the controls are amazing. Like you can play the entire game. I think at least for the most part, but probably completely with just the keyboard. Or you can play the whole game with the mouse just by
Yeah.
clicking everything. So, and then of course there's full controller support too, so you can play with the controller. So, definitely they basically made it, hey, however you want to play the game, you can
Yeah.
play the game for the most part, which I'm a fan of. Now, I did want to talk about the characters in the game. What are some like what is probably some of the best players on your team?
Judy.
And
I
like
have to
what is
say
like
right away, Judy's top
Judy?
tier.
Okay. Okay, what is it about Judy that is like really good?
Okay, so Judy she had several abilities. Her and Cornelius. So Julie was the uh what term boomer is what they call them. That's their class
Yeah.
name. Boomer, and then Cornelius was the brawler. And so Cornelius was like the tank, and then Judy was the boomer, where she had explosive splash damage. She had the ability that her splash damage. I don't think it does damage to allies or only does one damage no matter what. And she was just high damage. She had splash, especially for the skeletons. They're all weaker health, so if they're like in a group, you can destroy a lot of things around. She had an ability to destroy a totem anywhere on the map. And then Cornelius, as the brawler, he can just run in, do heavy damage with his melee weapon, and also tank a whole lot. If he gets damaged, they get damaged as well. Um, I think those two were my favorite classes to use.
Well, and that was by using the item, correct?
Yes, yeah, there was a certain item, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, there
yeah.
was a certain item that if they damage you, they get damaged, yeah.
So for me, and this was kind of for you telling me that she has this ability, and that's what kind of sold me is Chimney. Dude, Chimney is
Yeah, and I didn't get her
possibly
on my
the
first
best
playthrough.
player in the game, dude. Because by getting the voodoo doll, what is if they attack you, it deals 2 damage to them. But her passive is the same exact thing. So if you have that and that, it stacks.
Yeah,
So they're dealing 4 damage. So literally every time those, and then also because of the brawler, when she defeats an enemy, she gains 1 health.
hmm.
Also, we had armor on her. So, like, especially like the turrets and a lot of like the weaker enemies, they're only doing 1 damage to her because the armor is soaking a lot of it. And then, because they're attacking her, they get damaged, they die. It gives her the payback. So she's just staying at full health constantly. So I've had parts where just multiple turrets will just chimney, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. She doesn't even have to move a finger; they're just
Yeah.
destroying themselves. It's really,
See,
it's just
I wish
awesome.
I would have grabbed her, but I didn't really see her till later. But so I grabbed Cornelius, which um, I need to look back and see exactly what his passive is, because I
So
know hers.
his passive is super, super helpful. Which is the I think Abs of Still is what they call it. So
Oh yes, that's
he
what it is. That's what
gives
it
the
is.
shout,
So
and
his
then once
his is a passive ability. Hers is just a passive.
so hers is a passive, his is an active, and he can only use it. The Abs of Still he can use once per match, so
Oh, I
only
upgraded
once
mine
per
to
level.
2, so I have mine at 2 per match.
Yeah, so that's where I was gonna go. Body butter, which is what you get in his personal upgrade, that one you can use twice. And the nice thing is the original one, Abs of Still, as soon as you use it, um, and the feature behind the Abs of Still is when he activates it, he becomes invincible, and every single enemy has to target him. Now, unfortunately, you got to be careful because if you have like your other characters standing next to him, this happened to me before, they can get caught in the crossfire.
Hmm.
Um, Especially if there's like splash damage. But for the most part, yeah, it's they're just focusing him, and he's invincible, so he can just soak up all this damage and give your other characters either do attacks or give them time to heal, etc. But with Abs of Steel, it ends right when you use his turn ends right when you use the ability. But when you upgrade it to Body Butter, one, you can use it twice per mission, and also it doesn't end his turn, so you can use it and then you can do an attack, or like I have the same thing with him as well, where I'll have him with the two pistols.
Yeah, yeah.
One box of pistols and one his standard. So if I'm using him as a melee, I activate the body butter. He's invincible. Then you can maybe get up to 3 kills, and then it triggers the enemy turn, and then they have to attack him, and he's invincible.
Yeah, I have
So
to say the brawler classes are really fun.
yeah, yeah, especially him and Judy.
Which is great that they
I mean,
gave
not
that to
Judy,
him.
Chimney. Yeah, him and Chimney, like their abilities are built for brawler,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
big time.
They
I
did a
mean,
good job at making them useful, because typically, you're gonna want some range and keep some distance, but they did a good job of making them close combat melee characters, but still very useful in battle. You know,
yeah, and even the one I forgot his name. He's the one that kind of says like "believe it" a lot.
is he
He's
is
like
he?
with like the reddish hair.
Oh, he's an engineer.
Tristan?
Yeah,
Tristan,
yeah,
I think his name is. So the cool thing, he's an engineer, and so he has heals, and then his character specific abilities, like, are related to using healing items too. So like, he's an engineer, and his things help him be a better engineer. Which is like,
yeah.
oh, they're brawlers. Their things help them become better brawlers. So yeah, there's just very well thought out game. Very
Yeah,
well. Like honestly, I'm like,
highly
I really
recommend.
hope there's like I hope there's like an expansion pack or something like
I
that
was
later
looking at
on.
comments. People were talking about like add DLC or something like that. Someone said like
Yeah.
DLC, please. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know if any of their other games, how they were, if they had DLC, if that's something they do, or if they're more just like a one and done. But it
They
would be cool to. I don't think the game was set up for DLC the way it ended, but
I think
you know,
so. I think the game wasn't made for DLC, um, in the world that it is, but the way the story ends, like these characters can keep going on. Like it literally ends with them like they're still part of a crew
yeah,
together. They haven't split up yet. So you could totally, make maybe like make a new area of the map, or like make a new map that they travel to. And you can
yeah,
kind of continue on there. Um or you could also I mean, this would kind of change the game a bit, but you could add like additional characters that you could pick up in the game. But I think the best way to do it would be to
Yeah, add another zone.
add another zone, add maybe a mini mission, maybe go back to space would be kind of interesting. But then also, yeah, maybe just add one or two more characters that you can use in like this new zone. And then maybe once you beat in the game, you can also use them in older levels. Like, I don't know. One thing they do, and they have done in the past, is hat DLC. So they've made DLC packs where you buy it, and it includes just a bunch of hats. So it's something small, something fun. But I mean, there's already I think there's 101 hats in the game.
Wow.
So as much as I love hats, like, let's get some more levels. Like, I would be happy with that. I mean, I would be happy, honestly, if they didn't, like, already. Like, it's a good game. There's a lot to the game. I got a lot out of it, and I'm going to get a lot more out of it. But it is definitely a game where, like, if they did drop more levels, like, I would pick it up right away. Just because, like, it's fun. It's a good time. So, yeah, I think we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping things up. So let us know if you like the content we're making. Just drop a comment. If you don't like the content, drop a comment. Let us know, and we can pivot. So we're definitely just trying to make stuff that people like to watch. So well, if you made it this far in the video, thanks so much, and hope to see you in the next one.